From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Miami week. Yes. Finally.
Yep.
Corey Clark, Aslan Hajavandi. Wake Up Warchant live. As always, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Already took my shot an hour ago, so I can't take it right now, or else I'd be up till like 5 a.m. But I highly recommend that you take a shot maybe on Saturday around 5:30 p.m., maybe the mood variety. Feel mellow, be reasonable, level-headed, and go to vitaminenergy.com. Use the promo code warchantbogo so that you buy one and you get one free. It's incredible how that works out. Still can't believe they're doing this. What a great promo. Literally giving it away for free when you buy one box, 12 shots, delicious, nutritious, like for real. I mean, we're talking like vitamins, nutrients, things you need to enhance your mental clarity, your focus, your hydration. It don't stop.
I assume, can you get merch on the site too? Because this is a shirt that I'm wearing, a Vitamin Energy shirt.
I think I like it. I like it a lot too,
Yeah.
Corey.
See, it says energy, gang. It says energy. And what about this doesn't say scream energy? Just this whole package right here. I'm energetic. I'm fired up.
So's our guy Screen Pass, who says Noles win in a shocker, a big shocker. Miami's got 5 turnovers, one being a pick 6 that is returned 94 yards for a tutty. Morlock catches 6 straight. How about that? The Kyle Morlock drive. I've been waiting for that one. Just
Yeah. Hey, things happen, right? Things have happened in the past where maybe something like that would happen on Saturday. Seems not probable. But hey, and I'm just talking about that overall. Noles winning, the 5 turnovers when you've only created 3 all year. But hey, man, the football gods have a way of evening stuff out.
Brady, not your son Brady, just a random Brady on the Bird app with an awesome bulldog in his avatar. Can you ask this question to Mike Norvell next week? What is football?
Yeah, I feel like we should get more general. Just like, and then what is life the week after that? Why are we here? Like, not why are we here listening to you talk, Mike? Why are any of us here? What is this? Is this some grand experiment? How did this happen?
Rude to be 3 minutes into the show, not have done a wellness check on you, Corey. How are you, man? You all right?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Thank you. Hey, you know what? Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. Been standing all day, watching practice. We filmed the Warchant Report, which should be dropping probably a little bit after lunchtime on Thursday afternoon. I did ask our panel, Jeff Cameron, Irish O'Fell, Corey, did some research. So my research found out that apparently this is going to be Florida State's the largest underdog margin for Florida State in modern history in the Miami series. Florida State was favored by 21 in 2013, which matches what Miami's favored by. But Florida State's never been this big of an underdog against Miami to the amount of research I was able to find, 21 points. So it's a historic game that we're amidst here coming up soon. Also, when I looked at the starting 22 for both of these teams next year, Corey, because this was my question off the rip on the Warchant Report powered by Cummins, which, by the way, Renegade Express dropping tomorrow, kids, or actually on Friday. This will be dropping tomorrow. But get involved, generating discussion sparked by Cummins, win a free portable generator, portable power station. But the starting 22 for Miami, they got 13 of those guys still on their roster. Now, one of them is Emory Williams, who, was their backup quarterback. Damari Brown.
You're talking about the starting 22 from last year's game?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
So the starting 22 for Miami in last games against Florida State, 13 of those people are still on the team. But again, Emory Williams, Damari Brown's not going to be playing. I don't think Mario said he's still probably not ready. He's one of their best defensive backs, which is good because their defensive backs have been terrible. So we don't want him back out there. Meanwhile, Florida State returns. Well, they still have 8 guys on their roster that were part of the starting 22 last year, Corey. So I was wondering, what do you think the sort of narrative is going to be on Saturday night, whether it's in-game or immediately afterwards? Is it going to be, wow, look how fast Miami turned fortunes around and where they're at? Or is it going to be, wow, look how fast you can fall off the mountaintop as Florida State has done?
I'm glad you asked that, Aslan. There's actually a column on the site right now that I just wrote today on Wednesday about that very thing. And I think the answer to both of those is yes, that's the narrative. You can flip it around real quick and you can get flipped upside down real quick. I think that's the reality of the sport. And your fortunes can rise and fall very, very quickly in this day and age. I mean, again, Miami was 3. It's not that just that Miami lost 6 times last year. They were 3-5 in the ACC. That's not good, folks. They were 3-5 in the ACC. Florida State obviously was 8-0, and now Florida State might end up being 1-7 in the ACC, and Miami might go 8-0 in the regular season. Miami's probably going to go undefeated in the regular season. Last year, they barely made a bowl. Florida State was 13-0, 12-0 last regular season, and now they might win 2 games. So there's good and bad with that. It's unbelievable that Florida State is in this position, but it's not unbelievable that they took a significant step back. I think now that we've had obviously 8 weeks of watching the rest of the country, this is the new normal, right? Like Washington just lost 41-16 to Iowa. That was their 3rd loss of the season. Oklahoma State had 10 wins last year. They're like 2-5. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. They're the one that stole your playoff bid. And then Michigan just scored 7 whole points in a loss to Illinois. So the point being, there are a lot of teams that were really good last year that are not good this year. Florida State has taken that, though, to the extreme by being one of the worst, at least having one of the worst records in all of the Power 4. I guess the worst record. Is there anybody that's winless in the Power 4 conferences, Aslan? I can't imagine there is. So out of the Power 4 conferences, I would assume they have the worst record in the country, which is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassment. But you look at Miami and what they are now. You look at where you were last year, and it should give you a little bit of hope. It should give Miami fans trepidation. Like they're going to probably fall back to earth a good bit. So take advantage while you have a good team, which is why Florida State, that makes that snub even worse because they didn't even get a chance to see how that thing was going to play out with their very good team. But see what happens. You can see what happens next year with Miami. And then if Norvell does the things he needs to do, there's nothing that says you can't go be a top 20 team immediately next year. It can happen. That's the world we live in. It is not a 3 or 4 year rebuilding project anymore. The problem is what change. The issue is what changes is he going to make. But it's out there. It is possible, Aslan, to be good again.
Yeah, we got a lot of these sort of questions here. By the way, Florida State is joined by luminaries Purdue University and Mississippi State University as the only Power 4 teams that only have 1 win on the year.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, there you go. That's pretty telling, pretty sad.
Tub Butter, would a 1-win season increase the probability of an exit for Norvell, or does the buyout make that impossible? Eric Baker, or actually, no, let's go to Kurt Searcy. Given this disaster of a season, if Mike does not turn this crap around, is he on a really hot seat after 25?
Absolutely. I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's still feasible because even then you would owe him what, Aslan? $50 million? If you fired him after the 25 season, $55 million?
Yeah, like
$20 million is the math,
shed off of it, yeah.
But something like that.
But no, so I think he would be owed 80% of the balance. So you'd have $20 million off the books as you'd have paid him that. So so I think he was like $70 million. It was like 7-year, $10 million extension. So 20 comes off the books, and then you'd owe him 80% of the balance.
Okay, so you'd owe him 80% of 50?
Yeah.
Okay. Do that math real quick. What do you got?
I'm terrible, buddy. Why would you?
I was just kidding. I would assume that's $40 million.
Correct. Look at this guy.
50. Yeah, that seemed. I was joking.
Brady
might have even gotten that one.
Fulton County Schools.
Yeah, that's how we do. Gwinnett County, but close.
Oh, okay. I think you grew up in Fulton. You weren't in Fulton?
Gwinnett, man. I'm a Gwinnetian through and through. I got it pumping through these veins. That Gwinnett. Jimmy Carter Boulevard. That's Gwinnett. That's Gwinnett, baby. Meadow Creek, stand up. Rockbridge Elementary, stand up. So yeah, I just 40. I mean, Ira brought this up on headlines. It was a huge deal to have to be paying Willie Taggart $18 million. Right. You were talking tens of millions of dollars beyond that with the reality of what you're trying to build, the money you're still trying to raise. and you've gone to these boosters time and again in the last half decade to ask for this and ask for that, and then IL came into it, and the Balance Society came into it. Are you then going to ask them again to give you in the neighborhood of $50 million to pay somebody not to coach, and then you have to pay a whole new coaching staff on top of that? That it just, for everybody's sake. Yes, I would say if they go 6-6 next year, yeah, man, you're not firing them. I'm not saying that's a right or wrong answer, but you're not firing them, especially if you like maybe what the offense looked like and if one of these quarterbacks can play. But if they have a disaster again, and we're talking about them being one of the only one-win teams in the country in the late October, the week before Halloween, then yeah, you can't keep up with this. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think I just don't think that's going to be the case. But yes, you can't afford for him to stack up 2 straight 2 or 3 win seasons. I don't know that you can come back from that, and they're going to have to bite their lips and sign a huge check to a man to not coach their football team.
Yeah, no, to your point, he survives 25. I think the earliest anything would happen would be late 26. I think they'd give him every chance.
If they go 2-10 next year.
I know, but that just seems so
right. Crazy. But if he did, right, you'd think that would be enough. Yeah. If he has another thing like this where they're the worst offense in the country and the worst Power 4 record in the country, then I don't know that I don't think you can survive that, as much as that would. It'd be nice, Aslan, if he asked to take a pay cut to like $1 million.
I like what you said on headlines earlier about fundraising and how it's not maybe going great right now. And, asking like a hypothetical to Ira about if you were a big money booster, what would your sort of mindset be in terms of giving this school money right now? And you're like, man, I would go to Mike and be like, hey man, I'll match you. You want to give $2 million to this thing to get some talent back here? I got you. I'll also give $2 million, but I need you to throw some. You need to be in the jackpot with all of us, but I just don't.
Exactly right, man. Your livelihood depends on you going and getting better players and better coaches. They've given you a lot of money, man. They have given you a lot of money. Let's go. I know that's not how the sport and the profession works. I get it. It's all up to you guys to pay for the coaching and the roster now and all the fancy football buildings. That's all on y'all. So congrats. And all these coaches just continue to rake in millions of dollars while you guys pay for it. But yeah, it would be nice if a coach was like, yes, I'm donating. Could he even do that? I guess he wouldn't announce it, but he could donate $2.5 million of his yearly salary to Battle's End.
Yeah.
See where that goes, or to pay off one of his coaches or two.
Hit the thumbs up if you're just joining us, everybody. I certainly would appreciate it. It's Wake Up Warchant Live. It's presented by Vitamin Energy. Corey, I can't keep up with all the stories that keep coming out about private equity and realignment and super leagues. But is that like apples to oranges, or is it limes to lemons about? I mean, if Florida State's at the point where they've brought about litigation to get out of this conference, and they think they're going to have a safe landing spot somewhere if they can get themselves extricated from this grant of rights in this contract. But let's say one of these super leagues maybe does take off. I mean, does that give you the resources to maybe abandon ship on this contract? Maybe makes it framed a little bit differently with the Willie Taggart 18 million, whatever it was, versus Mike's 50 or 40 or however much it would be.
What do you mean? Like in what way?
I mean, if let's say next year they're 5-7, but there's legitimate, like maybe they've gotten out of this contract. Maybe there's legitimate discussion about like the Super League. Greg Sankey's being mum about it now. He's no longer criticizing. He's being mum. And it sounds like a Super League's going to start and all this private equity is going to be invested into these schools. Like, all right, we're about to get a check for, whatever, $100 million. We might be able to,
if there's a huge influx of cash, absolutely. That gives you a ton of wiggle room. To get out of a horrible, you wouldn't get out of it, but to like have the wherewithal to be able to pay it off would be, that would change everything. If you just got $250 million check or something, yeah, sure. And build a dome on top of Doak.
Philip Moore says the best part of the season is the Warchant rap presented by Vitamin Energy. I love seeing the reaction of Corey. Is there a way we could change the name to the Corey rap sponsored by Corner Pocket? Win-win on advertising.
It's a great idea, Philip
Ooh.
Moore, and I do appreciate it. I don't know that Ira would.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ira would be okay with it being called the Corey Rap.
Ira's
I
the
mean,
secret
look, we
sauce.
all know Philip. Aslan will never say it, but he knows it too. I carry the damn thing. We all understand what's going on, but still, no, I think that would rub him the wrong way if we made it just the Corey Rap.
Back to the coaching stuff. Eric Baker's here. Do me a favor, everybody in the chat. If people start showing up and asking about coaches getting fired, let them know to scrub back at like the 5-minute mark, and we'll talk about it. Eric Baker, solid dome. Look at that. Strong looking guy. Strong. Does Mike really believe his play calling is an issue, or does he think it's player execution? Do we think he's really going to make a change on offense? I don't, man.
You qualify that. You think he's going to make changes?
Yes, but I don't think it's going to be. And I don't know if his offense needs to be abandoned.
Right.
I think he's seen enough that he's like, man, I've gotten guys open. If I can just get an offensive line, to your point, that's just average. If I can just have an average offensive line, I will at worst have an average offense. And in this conference, that means like 8-4 is probably my floor. So I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to give up play calling duties. No, I think there's going to be several changes on the offensive side of the football. I think guys are going to be, given nice golden parachutes, but I don't think he's going to give up the play sheet.
And that would upset me greatly. But I don't disagree with Aslan, but it will upset me greatly. I think when you are this bad, it is not just a one position thing. It is not just a one coach or two coach thing. It's your thing. When you're this bad, it is literally what they are doing, folks, is like the equivalent of a basketball team, like Leonard's team averaging 44 points per game, but not playing at a crazy slow pace. Like this is an abomination. And when it's this bad, when it's this big a failure on one side of the ball, to not want to make sweeping changes concerns me a great deal. But I'm not saying we don't know if he's going to do it or not. We'll all find out together in the day after Thanksgiving, I guess, or 2 days after Thanksgiving. But if you don't make sweeping changes, and I don't just mean bringing in a new offensive line coach, I mean bringing in somebody that will help you run the offense or actually run the offense, I just think you're setting yourself up for another down season. Because, again, it wasn't incredible last year. And you had NFL players last year. And you didn't just light up the scoreboard every week. You won the games, but you didn't light up the scoreboard with that playmaker offense. So, I would like somebody that has proven at this level or at a level they can win without Jordan Travis to be running the offense.
James B. Pillar. Corey, would you pay Gene back if you wrote 6 terrible columns?
We'll never find that out, James B., because that don't happen. I'm in my peak, James B. Are you crazy? No, look, it's a fair question. And yes, I know I was being mostly facetious when I said Norvell should give the money back. That's not how any profession works. And he's really honestly getting paid for what he did last year. And you just didn't think this was coming. But the difference between what we all do for the most part is there are people that watch this that hate me, don't like me. There are people that really like me, and same with Aslan. It's subjective. A win-loss record is objective. Averaging 15 points per game is objective. It is an objective failure. And again, he's not going to give any money back, but it'd be nice if he donated to the kitty so they could go get themselves a badass offensive coordinator, help pay off Atkins's going away, whatever. Go get a quarterback if you don't think these two guys are it. I'm not saying that. Go. But anyway, and I know that's not going to happen, but, he's gotten paid $9.875 million per win so far in 2024, and we are almost to Halloween.
Give it up for Aaron P. Dollars and a nice message.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Aaron.
Aaron says Miami may have Cam Ward, while Florida State has Corey Clark and Aslan. Keep it up, guys. Looks like our guy got done running a marathon of sorts here in his avatar. Strong biceps.
I was going to say, he looks pretty big to be running a marathon.
Yeah, fit couple.
Okay,
good job.
Yeah, nice.
Look, friend, whatever. I'm not saying they're an item, but just a couple of human beings. Good physiques. Good job. Appreciate the kindness, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. How are you with your what's going on in your neck of the woods with all that? We still good on that front?
Yeah.
All right, dog. Can't wait to meet her. Can't wait to meet her. Stephanie's very fired up about that happening.
Pillar Shane and his wife Michelle met her inadvertently a few weeks ago when we were gallivanting around town.
Oh,
yeah, we were.
That's nice.
We were at the rooftop bar. They were leaving, and we were going up. And it's like, hey, what's up? So she exists, everybody. She's a real thing, I promise.
Good. It's good to know. It's good to know. She doesn't live in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, me and Manti Te'o are not double dating.
She's a real person.
Yeah. Corey Bates. Shout out to Corey Bates, man. Give it up. Give him some music, Aslan. Man, Corey Bates dropped 2 $10 contributions to the cause. Says YouTube was being weird, wouldn't let me tip 20.
How about that? Yeah. So he drops 10 twice. That's somebody that comes up with solutions, folks.
Yeah.
There's a problem, and he just doesn't throw up his hands and be like, I guess our offense sucks. He comes up with solutions. Good job, Corey Bates. Norvell can learn something from you.
Dude, Corey doing well. He's 27 years old, and he's got disposable income to come hang out here weekly and like throw money in our face. That's awesome. But he says he's 27 years old. Mike Norvell is someone I look up to. I hope he turns it around. The 2 coordinators that are safe, JP, John Papuchis, or the 2 coordinators that are safe, John Papuchis and Surtain. Well, they're not coordinators, but Papuchis is. And Surtain. Is Stephanie excited for the Browns starting Jameis Winston, Corey Clark?
Yeah, she's excited for anyone but Deshaun because that was a train wreck. He was awful. He was yes. To answer the question, yes. I know this isn't Wake Up Browns, but she's very excited that not so much that it's Jameis. She's very excited that it's not Deshaun anymore. And yeah, man, when it comes to Norvell, I think a lot of people at least were in that camp where they really liked him. I just remember how devastated, and we'll use Stephanie again. And I tweeted about this when it was happening, or when he signed and spurned to Alabama. I shared the text message between me and Stephanie where she was devastated that he might be going to Alabama, like legitimately devastated. I can't believe he would do that. What about everything he says? Like I think there are a lot of people that really were in love with this dude. And the winning, when you win 19 in a row, you're going to get a lot of admirers. We get that. But it felt like the way he won, the message he had, the way as hard as his team played, the kind of underdog mentality that a lot of those players had that came together to get a 13-0 season to watch the 5 stars sneak in at the last minute, get to play for the championship, and they didn't. Whatever. But people really enjoyed how he did it, not just what he was doing, but how he did it. And I think most people are right there with you, Corey. They really, I don't know if they still look up to him, but they really do like who he is, and they like what he's done, and they absolutely hope he turns it around. I think there's probably a good percentage of people watching this that don't think he will, but it's a possibility, and we're all hoping for that because he is a likable guy to be leading your program, except when his offense is this bad. Agreed, Aslan?
Did you see that Jameis has got Norvell's back?
I did see that. Yeah. Good for Jameis. He believes. He still believes.
I almost want to play it, but you've seen it. You obviously know it's a really well executed troll job. I think a Gator fan because it's Jameis talking about Deshaun Watson, but it works for both ways. Yeah. But all right, Corey ruining my steam on the show today. It's all good. It's fine. Hey, can I interest you guys in any practice observations from Wednesday? I was out there.
Are you asking me? Because let's hear it. Yeah. Hey, just real quick, the Aslan grading curve, who was the better quarterback?
Okay, by virtue of what he did in period 3, I'm going to go with 14.
Okay.
All
right.
So all right. I was talking about this with one of the other guys on the beat. I cannot remember the last time they effectively and efficiently marched down the field in period 3, which 90% of the time is a 2-minute, 1-minute drill situational end of the game. Sometimes they'll do period 3 where they're going red zone, goal line, but most of the time the ball's like on the 25-yard line. You're kind of playing a situation out to where you got the ball on the 25-yard line. You got a timeout. You're down by 3. You're down by 6.
Like somewhere, honestly, like in the 50s, like 51 seconds or 59 seconds or something like that. Yeah.
So they didn't do anything even remotely positive on Monday. I don't think anybody in their 6 reps, 8 reps, I don't know if they went to 4th down or whatever, but they didn't even move the ball positively. Brock had a completion to Malik Benson that was quite nice, but nothing else really materialized. And then Luke Kromenhoek comes out there and he scrambles all day and runs out of bounds for no gain. Then he throws an incompletion to BJ Gibson. And you're like, my gosh. I mean, we know it's a bad offense, but they're not going to be getting any better this week. And that's not fun. Next play, he proceeds to throw a ball. And I was talking to a person that works with the program about, there's so many throws that Luke makes where I'm like, oh my gosh, that is grossly overthrown. But either the receiver always seems to run right to it, or he does something to the ball where it just gently drops in vicinity of his receiver to make a catch. So he's
like a great golfer hitting like a chip that just lands and spins back towards the hole. I hear you. All right.
Elijah Moore was absolutely battered and assaulted. Flag came out. He still made an over-the-shoulder one-handed catch. And there was like a ooh. Like you could feel the energy. You could feel like, ooh, look at that. Next throw, Luke kind of forces it. It's a PBU, but the ball shoots up in the air. Shout out to Amari Williams, who puts on the brakes, leans back, makes the catch over the middle, and everybody else is like, oh. They run up because, again, this is like a situational no time, no huddle sort of drill. Next play, locates the ball. Elijah Moore, another catch, touchdown. I mean, those three plays were probably the most exciting plays Florida State has put together in a season since the first drive against Georgia Tech, and in a practice, and I can't remember how long.
Okay, all right.
Now he didn't. That was the high point. It didn't sustain. It didn't last. But man, when they scored that touchdown, you could feel life being breathed into that practice and into that team. I mean, it was guys smacking him on the helmet, him smack. I mean, it was, we talked about so many times where they'd have a big play in practice and it kind of felt like a manufactured, hey, let's all go out there and let's celebrate together and feel good about each other. That was totally organic. That was totally natural. And it was like, wow, man, like this is okay. We got something here. Maybe Irish O'Fell was onto something Monday when he said he thought, Luke might be the goods. But again,
it's also a freshman to a freshman and another freshman.
Yeah.
That is something to get you excited that maybe the light is turning on. Maybe it's always been on for someone like Elijah Moore and he just hasn't gotten a chance to show it. But you hope that like what happened Friday night was the final straw for some, and that Elijah Moore will start getting, and LaWayne McCoy will start getting on the field. Elijah Moore's played one play all season. LaWayne McCoy, I don't think, has had a pass thrown to him yet. No. They will start becoming a part of this offense.
Also, defensively, they did something I haven't seen before, where I think during special teams, Adam Fuller took some of his guys outside, like defensive backs. Fentrell, Azaria, guys that aren't usually in on special team stuff, and was working on like locating the ball, identifying. I mean, seemed to kind of have a good grasp of the concepts that Miami likes to run route wise and what they have to do to not only defend that properly, but to turn into a takeaway situation. And it was cool to see that later on in practice, Kevin Noles actually had an interception in a very similar route kind of situation that Adam was repping with them during practice. So,
okay.
Again, practice has been the same mostly. They ended practice on Wednesday running some of their perimeter stuff, which they used to run kind of in period 6 or 7, where it's just outside pass drill. And it's less about actually the quarterback throwing the ball and catching. It's more about being able to make the blocks out there.
Hold the block, yes.
Yeah. So they've been doing that kind of at the end of practice to maintain physicality, maintain intensity. So they are trying to do some things differently. I don't want to get too lost in here, but otherwise, put a star by Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown had a really nice catch in red zone from Brock Glenn. That was a touchdown. Marvin Jones Jr. had a sack in 11 on 11s. BJ Gibson had a touchdown in 11 on 11.
Okay.
Makai Danzy, I'm sorry, had a really nice catch in 11 on 11, a red zone sort of situational. And then 5 on 7, Kyle Morlock with a really nice catch, Amari Williams as well. I would say on the whole, Luke completed more passes than Brock on Wednesday. Not just period 3, but
there is a world We'll see. Again, I don't expect anything to look great Saturday. But the final 4 games, there is a world where even though your team is going to finish probably 3-9 at best, you feel upbeat about going into the offseason if the names that you just talked about, and I'm talking about Jaylen Brown. By the way, not a great look, Jaylen, on that pick 6, buddy. I'd like you to. I don't know if he's just not. I mean, he's fast.
So it wasn't just me. It seemed like the DB only was a yard ahead of him. And
yes, and he did not gain on him,
and
did not come close to gaining on him. But we've seen it, Aslan. He can move. Yeah. But when you talk about Amari Williams, Mekhi Danzy, Elijah Moore, LaWayne McCoy, you didn't mention Landon Thomas, but Landon Thomas, Jaylen Brown's a redshirt freshman. Like, along with, if you see good quarterback play. Not great, but good over the next 5. I don't care who it is. If one of these guys shows that he can be a good, capable quarterback, to go with a young core of, skill guys, all right. Well, you might feel okay going into next season that you've got a nice core to build around. You just need a new, you need some new staff members.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. If you're not going to be down there in Hard Rock South, don't blame you. But if you're in Tallahassee, go to the CP and watch the Noles. Watch all the games all long. Vegas Wall, any game you want, they got you covered. Delicious meals, salads, sandwiches, wraps. As we all are well aware, the Corey wrap.
Yeah.
Now, listen, true story. It's really a $14.99 dish, but Corey's like, got a soft spot for Danny Cannell. I want it to be $13.99. So Corey taking one for the team there. Try it. I have yet to do it. Maybe that'll break the curse. Apparently, it wasn't a curse after all, right, Corey? Because you talked about the solo cup eating nonsense. Yeah. They won a game after the guy didn't live up to his end of the bargain.
Right.
But I digress.
Just one. Yeah.
That's gross. What's not gross? All the awesome stuff over the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Build your own burger, best wings in town. And don't forget a happy hour going on all day Sunday as you watch your NFL games. And bingo tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Yeah, how did trivia go, Corey, on Tuesday night? Now that we're here, it's happened. We can talk about it freely and openly.
It was a little dicey. Took a long time to get the computer hooked up, to get the questions actually on the big screen to go. And then the mic kind of went in and out a few times. But once we got new batteries for the mic and actually got the questions on the board, crushed it. Great time. The funniest was, did I tell you the FSU football questions?
I think you did. Yeah.
So the last one was spell DJ's last name. Yeah. And the funniest answer was somebody put a U and then just a bunch of squiggly lines. Like people, like you, true, Jeopardy. False, you'd make the T look like an F. So it could be one or the other. That was U and then a bunch of squiggly lines, which I thought was funny. Nobody got that right, by the way. Out of the 12 teams, or 13 teams that were there, nobody spelled his name correctly.
Yeah. Which, listen, I wouldn't, but I've had to type his name out.
Yes, we all. The only reason I could, like, if you'd asked me at this time last year, I would have known a U, and that would have been it. Everything else would have just been a crapshoot.
Shout out to Jason Brown for being able to read body language. Mike loves to short answer Aslan. He seems to have Aslan shook in the presser. Them eyes don't lie. This might be my favorite interaction of the year so far, Corey. I asked him about Jalen early and whether or not he looked natural at guard. Just like this was like an Aslan softball, kind of like, hey, talk up your offensive line, the run game going good. And he's like, well, he's played guard. We recruited him as a guard. He came here as a guard. So, yeah, it was natural. And they looked away. And then I walked away so I could upload the interview to our YouTube channel as well as warchant.com. And Jalen Early, I didn't realize Jalen Early was going to be one of the players we spoke to after practice on Wednesday, and he was. And somebody asked him about, like, what was it like? He said, well, I usually play tackle. He's like, I've always played tackle my whole life. And shout out to Ira. Ira, like, almost like lets out like a very soft, like, chortle laugh. And he looks at me kind of like sympathetically. I'm like, see. Yeah, man, Mike and me, we just need to, sometimes you need to hug it out. We just need to brawl. He either needs to beat me up, so I'll be like, all right. Or I need to maybe get the best of him, so he'll be like, all right.
I don't like that. Man. I don't like that tact. Let's not get in a fight with the head coach. Okay. I see what you're saying, but I'd rather y'all hug it out.
Okay. Jason Brown also says, take Cam off Miami. What's their record? Missing on a quarterback is big. And Corey, when we had Matt Shodell on the show yesterday, I should have brought this up when we did your trivia portion of the show after the interview, but he said that he heard that Cam was $1.5 million.
Oh, okay. Well worth it.
I mean, right?
Well worth it.
I mean, I hope that Florida State is prepared to pay that kind of money moving forward, because that's what it's going to cost. And listen, even if we can say one of these guys does work out, I mean, what's going to stop Luke Kromenhoek or Brock Glenn's parents from asking for like a pretty high dollar amount close to that?
I think you would much rather so I assume this is an assumption. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure they're close. I assume Jordan Travis got more than his last year, got more than DJ did here, but similar-ish type numbers. I think you, especially at that position, you are more likely in wanting to pay a really good quarterback to retain him. You know what I mean? I think you would go there if you know he's your guy and he can work in your system. It's worth it. Taking a shot. And also, and I wrote this in the column too that's on the site, the Cam Ward might be one of one. I don't know that you're going to see a lot of guys that are of his caliber that have these kind of years at new schools just roaming around in the portal. Typically, guys like that don't leave the schools that are at. He left Washington State. He'd been there for a couple years. They also didn't have a conference. It made sense for him to leave. I don't know that whoever the next quarterback, the best quarterback in the portal next year, I don't feel is going to be as good and as impactful as Cam Ward. Cam Ward might be one of one when it comes to the transfer portal quarterbacks.
Speaking of $1 million man, close. James B.
The man, the myth,
Pillar.
the legend.
Pillar. $200 in the jar.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. I hope you're not going to Miami, buddy. I hope you're taking the weekend off, and we'll see you for the North Carolina game.
You should scroll all the way up to the top of the chat, Corey. Somebody recommended a meat market around Gwinnett that's got the best steaks in the area. It said just buy some steaks, grill them up, watch it at home.
Okay, that's nice. Okay.
Not going to say the name of the company. Not a sponsor.
Okay, fair.
James B says, Corey, I am taking what you said about finding out what the plan is moving forward to heart. I'll be actively working to find that out. What would be y'all's top 3 changes you need to see? As always, both of you are the best.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if there's 3. You've got to have a better running game. To me, that means a new offensive line coach, but maybe to Mike Norvell it doesn't. But you've got to have a better running game. You got to have a better offense overall. But that to me is where all the focus is going to be on is on, or should be, not all of it, but most of it needs to be on the offense. And I would like to see Mike Norvell hand the keys to somebody that is producing at a really high level in 2024 and has a history of producing really good offenses, and say, this is your offense. Because I do think, Aslan, and we've talked about this, I know you want him to call plays, but I do think Norvell could be a really good, delegator of authority and an overall head coach. And Ira brought this up, Jimbo calls plays, Mike Norvell calls plays. We didn't get to watch Jimbo's practices a lot, but we watched him enough to know he never left the quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Everything else, whether it was Stoops or Pruitt or Charles Kelly, they ran the other side. They ran the other field. Jimbo was strictly there talking to the quarterbacks. Mike Norvell is an offensive coordinator that will spend 20 minutes watching the linebackers and 20 minutes watching the DBs. I mean, he's always walking, right? He's never just watching the passing game, or he's never just watching the running game, because it's his team. Yeah. And I think he would be a really good head coach, in that I do think he'd have his finger in everything, because he already does. He already watches and focuses on every player on the team and what they're doing. He is not just – I want my offensive coordinator, quite frankly, to be only thinking about scoring points. That's all I want. I don't want him having to think about blocking a punt or this kid's mindset because he's not getting a lot of playing time. He's a backup linebacker, and we want to keep him here. All I want my OC to be doing is focusing on gaining yards and scoring points. Mike Norvell is not that type of offensive-minded head coach. He wants to be a part of the whole program. And great, it worked last year. It worked last year because he had a 23-year-old quarterback that was awesome in Keon Coleman. I just, I would like to see that. That's all.
The first few periods of the day, he's usually inside and he's watching that whole back to each other. You run to a corner, you turn around and you pursue one another. He'll come outside and he'll watch punt returns going on. But then, man, once period 3 hits, he's 30 yards upfield watching the action coming to him. Once they get to period 4, that's like inside run game. He is all over the offense watching it. Then they'll go and start doing, like they'll throw it on air. And then that's when usually they'll do like offensive line versus defensive line. That's where he's really like in the thick of watching what's going on with the defense. But otherwise, man, after that, it's special teams. He's watching special teams. And from there, they go from 11 on 11 to 7 on 7 to 1 on 1s. And he's usually watching that.
Well, when they do those position drills, though, like when quarterbacks are just throwing against air to wide receivers, Norvell's not just sitting there the whole time watching that happen. Like he will go and watch the defensive linemen go up against each other. He'll watch the linebackers go through a drill.
I can't remember the last time him watching linebackers, but when they do the 3 offensive linemen versus 4 defensive linemen, like he's all over that. He's walking back and forth because it's one group and then the next group and they're going back. He's going back and forth. But otherwise, I mean, they're mostly doing 7 on 7, 11 on 11, special teams, 1 on 1s. And during those periods, which it takes up a lot of it, like he's focused on the offense. I just don't want people to think that he's spreading. I don't know. Maybe you think he's spreading himself too thin. I don't think he's spreading himself too thin.
I think he cares. I think he is. And it's a good thing to be. He is so involved in everything. Like literally, he is a head coach that if the backup linebacker isn't getting a lot of playing time, I feel like he's gonna have a meeting with him. He's gonna make sure to go over during practice and say, "Hey, good job on a particular play," because he cares. He does care, and I think that's how he runs his program. But the UNLV offensive coordinator who's putting up 45 points a game and is a disciple is not watching the linemen go up against each other at any point during practice. The defensive lineman, he is solely focused on what he's doing. Jimbo, much to our chagrin there at the end, was solely focused on quarterbacks. I just think when you're, and again, it's me saying this in the midst of a 1-7 season, but by God, Aslan, 1-6. About to be 2-6, gang. I just think that when you have an offense this bad, everything is up for discussion. Everything is up for a possibility to change it. There's our dog, Coach Marion, former Tulsa wide receiver, a star wide receiver with under Norvell's tutelage. But he's put together some good offenses, and I also saw Aslan. I think they have a really good running back that's only a sophomore. Just throwing that out there. If he shoots down to Tallahassee, he can bring some dudes with him, maybe.
How about this dude?
Oh, Ray Pereira in the house.
Ray Pereira, man, always a big deal when he shows up. He's got a lot of questions, our guy. How did Atkins go from the next head coaching candidate star to this?
Buddy, that's a fair question, Ray.
Here's a really good question. It's a riddle. If talent does not execute, then is talent still an accurate term? We have been here before and rose to the challenge.
I would say great heights, maybe.
Okay, yeah. And we got to, okay. Look at Corey. Forensics.
I think that's what God Eights would probably translate to great heights, I think. That's what I'm thinking.
All right. Yeah, I hate myself for doing this, but I am more in my elder age here. I do believe that mostly lack of success in team sports is lack of talent. I don't think coaching is the number one culprit. And I just don't. But again, listen, he recruited these guys. He handpicked these guys. They committed resources, financial resources to bringing in all these guys. And they really. Listen, man, I feel like I was joking, almost kind of semi-joking with Ira after practice. Like Cam Riley is their late flyer, right? Like that was the last addition they had on this roster, I think. And he's been pretty good. I know that's relatively speaking to what they've brought in, but like he's been a good linebacker, all things considered, coming in last minute. et cetera, et cetera. So, because again, like we saw what they looked like last year with a lot of the same concepts clearly, but a lot of different players that catch the football, that make the interception, that get to the quarterback and bring them down. So how can we not say if he gets the right amount of talent here, he won't get this thing back to winning football? The question though is, has the calculus changed on this to where you're no longer first in line, cutting edge of having a collective and identifying guys? Now everybody's got their own collective. They can play ball as well. So, was it a really small window? Was it a smaller window that any of us really realized, I think,
Well, and yeah, I think coaching, yes, talent is more important than anything. What coaching is maximizing the talent. That's what your job is, to maximize the talent. Like, obviously, this is not a 12-win talent. They don't have the talent on this team to go 12-0. Obviously, they have more talent than 1-6. They have more talent than Duke. They have more talent than Memphis. They have more talent than Cal. They beat Cal. Great. They have more talent than Boston College. They just do. They watch the NFL draft, man, over the next couple of years. Some of these guys' names will get called. What they don't have is very good coaching on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not convinced that Malik Benson couldn't start at Boston College. I think he could. I think Morlock could play at Memphis. I just do. But here, they have not been maximized at all. And that's your job as a head coach. That's your job as a position coach, to get players in here and to try to utilize whatever talents they have. Everybody's got a talent in something. Utilize the talents they have better than this.
Morlock's a bad example because he's been schemed open. Benson might be a more accurate example because we have not seen a lot of shots of him downfield. Why do you bring in a fast guy and you got a strong arm quarterback for the first 5 weeks of the season? You really didn't take a lot of chances. But yeah. Morlock's been open, man. I mean, he drops footballs. What can Mike do? I
don't know. Bring in somebody that doesn't drop football. I don't know. And I think those maybe play the younger tight ends quicker. That's something he could have done. But yeah, but the point being, it's not like the roster is completely devoid of talent. This is not a 1-6 roster. His roster, his 2020 roster, especially when the defensive linemen stopped playing, like literally just didn't play. Marvin and Durden weren't playing because they were hurt. That was a 2-10 roster through no fault of his own. That was a 2-10 talented roster. They didn't have anybody good. James Blackman was the quarterback. Running backs hadn't done anything. Receivers were not great. This is different. These are guys that have proven they can play, played at least a decent level. And I don't know, man. I would say this is now that we have hindsight, I would say you look at this and say this was a 7 or 8 win team that's going to win 2 or 3 games. That's not maximizing the talent.
Quantrell, hey, thanks again, Ray. When did we see
Yes,
Ray?
Thank you very much, Ray, and thank you very much, and thank you, James B. as well.
We saw Ray CP before. What was the Memphis game?
I think.
I forget, but it was awesome to see him.
Maybe the BC game.
All right.
Maybe.
Saw Ralph. Yeah. Always a good time. Quantrell knows, guys, who is responsible for letting Kyle Kennard go to Carolina and lead a hellacious defense that had 9 sacks against Oklahoma, and he almost beat Bama by himself? Norvell or Derek Ray?
What was this backstory on that, Aslan? Do you know?
Where'd it go? I thought I had it pulled up here. Where'd it go? Let me pick.
You're still on UNLV's page.
Yeah. Coach Marion.
Just leave that there. Let people read all that.
So I want to give some context here. I remember them going after him, and it felt like maybe he was going to be Jag, just another guy. 70 is a really good score. That's a really good grade. You start off at
7 sacks in a season isn't bad either.
Yeah, but he visited. There's a photo of him on Twitter where he was in Mike Norvell's office. I didn't think that he was going to be what he is now. I mean, listen, he's got 5 more pressures in half the season this year at Carolina than he did last year at Georgia Tech the entire season, and he's got just as many sacks. That one hurts. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the Cam Ward of the defense, if you will, because think about that. If anything Mike has had for most of his tenure here, it's been at least an elite pass rusher, right? Like he had Jermaine, he had Jared Verse, and they don't have anything close to that right now. maybe Marvin can develop into that, but I don't know whatever Patrick
Well,
has.
I wonder. I don't know the timeline for the people that don't know. Kennard is as Aslan's showing on the screen, but if you're listening on the podcast, Kennard is like the All-American defensive end that's at South Carolina now, which is great. He's had a remarkable year. Year 5, guys don't usually do this. I mean, good for him to bet on himself and I guess go to a different school and light it up. He plays with a lot of good players on that defensive line too. Does Gilbert Edmond play for them?
I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not. He probably would have been better served to maybe stay at Florida State, considering I'm sure he didn't know Shane Beamer was bringing in that kind of talent or that kind of dude. But what is the timeline, Aslan, for when so that's December 10th. When did Marvin commit to Florida State? Because that might have been what sent Kyle Kennard to Columbia instead of Tallahassee. Because, again, you know Patrick Payton's on the team. And then if Marvin Jones is going to be the other defensive end, Kennard might have been like, okay, well, I'm going to go somewhere where I know I can start and get
December
a lot of reps.
18th
Is when Marvin committed?
Yeah.
When did he commit to South Carolina? Can you look that up real quick? Look it up, Aslan. Look it up, Aslan. Look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Kennard commits to South Carolina.
December 15th.
Okay, well, never mind then. Maybe they told him they wanted Marvin and not him. I don't know.
Also,
sometimes guys just go to other schools. That does happen.
I meant to bring this up yesterday. And listen, I think Quantrell's being tongue in cheek. I think they wanted him. I think they made him a priority. I mean, clearly, they brought him in on a visit over a week before Marvin Jones Jr. committed. So, might have been money. Maybe Carolina gave him more money. Maybe he was playing in the SEC was a cooler thing for him. Who knows?
But they clearly were recruiting him. He's sitting there with your head coach. He's standing in his office 2 weeks before the Orange Bowl. Or 3 weeks before the Orange Bowl, I guess. But yeah, so it's not like they just said, no, we're not interested. He was on a visit and went to your head coach's office. So clearly they liked him. Sometimes they choose other schools. And again, it's not like Florida State didn't have a great track record to sell. Jared Verse, and he wasn't a first-round pick yet, but we knew he was going to be. And Jermaine Johnson was an all-pro for the Jets. So the transfer defensive ends had done pretty good under Norvell's watch. So they had some good selling points. He just wanted to live in South Carolina and enjoy those great roads.
Sandstorm. He likes Sandstorm.
He loves Sandstorm. And he loves Gamecocks.
So this is my ongoing, my ongoing Cold War with Ira regarding Cam Ward, where, Miami just wasn't going to lose him to anybody, let alone Florida State. And I get, the academic calendar might have had more to do with it than dollars and cents. But, in speaking with Matt Shodell yesterday, Corey, and again, Matt's a little bit blinded by the green and orange glasses, but, he said that he believed, he spoke to Cam's father and, he was under the assumption, taking Cam's father at face value, that it was always kind of between Miami and going to the NFL. And said that, but maybe it makes a little bit more sense that, when he was at Washington State, they played a little bit of that kind of derivative Mike Leach air raid sort of offense. And that's what Shannon Dawson runs at Miami. Plus, when you look at Miami, you brought back Restrepo, you brought back Colby George, you did bring in Sam Brown from Houston. And then you also had an established offensive line by a good margin. They brought in a transfer at center, but, I guess Mario Cristobal at least had, I don't know what Mike can really hang his hat on when it comes to recruiting, but at least Mario can at least tell you, we're going to have a good offensive line when you come here. Yeah. Then I think they probably got Damian Martinez after that, but they might've been like, hey, listen, we're going to get you another running back too. But they already have, Mark Fletcher's a pretty good running back. So, I mean, when you look at that, and this is me to kind of maybe take some steam off any animosity or heat on Mike when it comes to missing out on Cam, because listen, man, Cam was the number one option. And I kind of felt like maybe they played it a little too thrifty and thought we could be better off spending it on more players and just putting it all in this one. You talked about all the baskets of eggs that they're working with. So I was like, well, you know what? I feel like they probably just try to take the easy way out on him. But if you be a little bit maybe objective, it's maybe not that hard to see that Miami might have been a better situation for a guy like that. Very similar offense to what I've been playing in. Yeah. Much more of a better track record of offensive line development. Yep. Receivers that have produced, and a running game that's going to be probably pretty decent, so.
Yeah, I mean, look, the offensive line that performed in the Orange Bowl, because that was your starting offensive line. None of those guys opted out. And against Louisville and Florida, if you're Cam Ward, do you look at that and go, absolutely, we're going to be great. I want to play behind those guys and throw to those dudes. What dudes? None of these guys have done anything. So, yes, in hindsight, obviously it was the right move for him because look at what he's doing and look at what they're doing. But, yeah, I think, they returned 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. They had a transfer in at center that took the place of the guy that was obviously their center last year. Yeah. All the other guys were homegrown. Cristobal can build an offensive line, man, and he can build a good one, and that matters. And he also had a couple of, like you said, a couple of receivers that were proven. When they run the offense that he's used to running or close to it, yeah, you can see why that would appeal to him. Like even as great as Jordan was the last 2 years, he didn't put up sensational numbers. He wasn't a numbers dude. He wasn't doing. He wouldn't have. If Cam, there's no scenario where a quarterback in Mike Norvell's offense has put up the numbers that Cam Ward has put up at Miami this year. Even if it was operating well, he's averaging like 360 yards a game or something ridiculous, and like 4 touchdowns a game. That was never going to happen here. So obviously made the right decision.
Ed Lemix is here, everybody. Let's go.
What's up, Ed? Say hey to Courtney, too, for us.
The Godfather. This is his damn house. He lives there. He sleeps 20 feet away.
Ed deserves better than the music that I was unable to. Hey, good question, Ray Pereira. When the talent doesn't execute, is it talent?
Yeah.
I let you all down. Ed with $100 in the jar. We appreciate you. As Corey said, hope Ms. Lemix, hope Courtney's also doing great. Do you think one of the 2 quarterbacks has a breakout game and turns this season around?
If you're talking about this week, no. But golly, this Miami defense isn't good at all. It's
secondary particularly. Yeah.
What they gave up? They gave up 38 to Carolina. They gave up 34 to Virginia Tech. They just gave up 45 to Louisville. I think those are their last 3 games.
35 to Cal.
I thought it was 38 to Cal. I thought they won 39-38. I think they gave up 34 to Virginia Tech. So that's 72, and they just gave up 45 to Miami. So that's 117. So they're averaging giving up 40 points a game over their last 3. Like this is maybe the worst defense you've faced all season. So it would be nice, if not now, win. But I don't know. I'm not counting on it. I'm not counting on it. But it would be great. It wouldn't turn the season around. It could turn maybe the mindset around heading into the offseason if one of these guys can put together a couple of breakout games. It would be wonderful.
Yeah. I know it's a Miami week, so I hate to just mail it in on it, but when you think about, to your point, Corey, about maybe not this week, but, let's say Brock builds on it in the second half, or let's say that Luke feels a little bit more comfortable with pressure around him and can climb the pocket. It's probably going to be a fairly high scoring affair versus North Carolina. Florida State's defense is fairly okay. I mean, they're average. But Carolina's been putting up points on most everybody in this conference, so that could be an opportunity to flex and maybe get into the 30s at some point.
Wouldn't that be something?
But just beating Florida, losing, there's so much more to lose against Florida because beating Florida is not going to erase the stink and the sting of the season, but it makes it feel a little bit better. But my goodness, if you were to lose to Florida at home with them having a true freshman quarterback, that would be absolutely just gutting.
But you're expecting it, right? At this point, the way Florida's played and the way you've played.
Yeah.
We'll see. Again, every week is a new story, everyone. And Florida State might go down there and compete really hard, play a close game, play a competitive game. These quarterbacks might make things happen. Might answer the challenge of being in an environment like that and play well. And then again, we'll reassess next week of what we think the rest of the season will look at. But 3 of the next 4 games are against the 3 worst defenses they've faced all season. Charleston Southern obviously is horrible, and I don't say that just because it's Charleston Southern. They're like 1-6 playing at FCS level. So you're going to put up.
They're
a
one
lot
of the
points
worst
on them.
FCS teams in the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're going to put up a lot of points on them theoretically. And then Miami and North Carolina. Miami's numbers are pretty good defensively, but the last 3 weeks they've been dreadful. And North Carolina always has a bad defense. So these are the Notre Dame. You're not going to do much. Not going to do much against that defense. I'm foreseeing. But the other 3 games heading into the Florida game, you might be able to put up some points and some touchdowns and get a little life as you head into the offseason.
I don't want to leave you all with this, but I am going to leave you with this. Tim Reynolds, his tweet says, Corey, that there are 661 NCAA football programs in the country. That's all levels. There are 25 that have not scored more than 21 in a game this season. There's 1 FCS school, 5 Division II schools, 18 D3 schools, and only 1 FBS school. Florida State is that lone FBS school.
Yep.
What better time than right here, right now, to change all that, Corey? Against a very porous secondary, against a cocky, arrogant program.
Yeah. Put up 21 in the first quarter. Like, just overwhelm them with your speed and talent. Just overwhelm them, just like an avalanche, and they can't get out of the way. And it's 49-7 at half, and then you hold on to win 52-49 or something. But just make up for all this time. Find something. Maybe they've been playing possum the last 6 weeks. But yeah, that again. I just want to stress, I'm not a reactionary person. I'm not a guy that is always calling for firings or huge changes within a program because of a bad stretch. But as Tim Reynolds just pointed out, as I pointed out ad nauseum for 2 weeks, this isn't just a normal bad offense. This isn't a bad offense like Duke has a bad offense. This is historical stuff. This is an all-time failure of an epic level that demands immediate attention and drastic attention. To me, that drastic attention should be the guy that's running the offense, no longer running the offense. But for others, it means changing the roster, changing the coaches. That might be the answer too. But either way, it should be maybe a combination of both. But it absolutely demands drastic attention because this is, again, think about that, folks. There's one team in the country that has not scored more than 21 points in a game this season. It's the one you cheer for. Memphis gives up 40 points to everyone. You put up 12 at home. This is not just what?
Off of a bye.
Off of a bye. Yeah, this is not just average bad. This isn't just a run-of-the-mill bad offense. This is a one-off, a unicorn of bad offenses that I just don't feel like the guy that put this together should get the right to put together another staff and another roster. He lost that right when he put together the worst offense in 50 years. That, to me, somebody else gets to run the offense. He can go do other head coaching stuff. Let somebody else run the offense because I don't trust the guy that put this together has the answers to put it to fix it in a year. And it needs to be fixed by next year.
It's Miami week, everybody. And I know we're tongue in cheek and we've been a little bit glum here, but there's so much good stuff going on over at warchant.com. We're going to have another
hot boards.
edition.
We got the hot boards up yet, Aslan?
Not yet.
Okay.
Henshaw's House, the wildly popular feature with George Henshaw, former NFL coordinator, former Florida State assistant coach with Irish O'Fell. They're going to be doing that in person again, taping it later in the week, and they'll probably drop Friday or so. Yeah. Coach Speak is also going to be out there later in the week. Warchant Report, powered by Cummins, dropping later this week. JCS still going strong, 1 to 4 o'clock the rest of the week. We'll have the over-under contest, which we should have probably, we'll do that during the mailbag show tomorrow. We've got another show with the mailbag coming up. Pre-game show, 9 o'clock in the morning with Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang. Post-game show, 10 to 15 minutes after the game with Gene Williams and Tom Lang, taking your phone calls, working through it together. The Vitamin Energy Warchant wrap to follow with Corey Clark and Irish O'Fell. We're out here for you. We're still doing this thing. We're going to make it through. And as Corey's pointed out, go read his column. Fortunes can change quickly and
very quickly, like instantaneously. They can change that quickly. Next year, you might have a top 30 offense, a top 20 offense. Legitimately, that's how quickly it can change.
Thanks to Aaron, Corey Bates, James B., Ray Pereira, and Ed for the tips. All of you for the questions, hanging out. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. That would be equally appreciated, kind of, sort of. $200 is really cool, though. That's Cora Amazon. Thanks for watching Wake Up Warchant live, presented by Vitamin Energy. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Warchant BOGO promo code. Use it, everybody.